Hi, everybody. I'm Dan Illman along with Harvey Pack for this week's edition of Pack at the Track. And Harvey, it's sort of like Old Home Week at Saratoga. This is the week where, you've got the old warriors of Saratoga being honored with stakes races of their own name. There was the Quick Call Stakes earlier in the week. And of course, the Grade 1 4-star Dave handicap on Saturday.
Never liked him. I'm not kidding. Bomsey, the owner, used to point him for Saratoga year after year, and he'd win because he would run in a race where he was just as good or better, and he did like it up there. So they named a race after him. And I said, why are we naming a race after 4-star Dave? And he said, he loved Saratoga. I said, there were 18,000 people here today. They love Saratoga. You're not going to name a race after them. They said, well, he always won up here. He always won because his owner, Richard Bomsey, who owned the American Turf Monthly, used to point him for a race at Saratoga, and the horse responded by winning. Never showed up for an interview, never spoke to me, never liked him.
I know Mike Beard never liked the horse either. He preferred his younger brother, 4 Stars All-Star, who I think became the one and only American-trained runner to win a classic overseas. I think he won the Irish 2000 Guineas for Leo O'Brien. Of course, the 4-star Dave used to be known as the Darrell's Joy. It was a Grade 1 for the first time last year. It was won by Tourist, who eventually went on to post an upset in the Breeders' Cup Mile. Now, I think Quick Call, who was more of a dirt, turf, versatile type, he was trained by Sid Waters. Now, was Sid Waters the trainer with the peach after the Alabama?
Yes, he was. He was the trainer who won the Alabama, which probably was worth about half of what it's worth today, but was still a Grade 1 with tremendous broodmare potential. And he won it, and we're walking out of the track, and he sees the peach guy, the guy with the fruit, who used to hang out outside of Saratoga to sell fruit to people leaving the track. And Sid walks up to him, and he says, how much are the peaches? And the guy says, 50 cents. And he picks up the peach, he looks at it, and he says, too damn much, and kept walking.
For more stories
Which stuck with me. It did stick with me. Sid was a good guy. A steeplechase rider, became a very good trainer, but he wouldn't pay 50 cents for a peach.
Well, he knew about value. For more stories from Harvey, check out his book, May the Horse Be With You, Pack at the Track, at drf.com. All right, I guess it's time for the punishment now. We call this the Pack at the Track Daily Double. We actually have a true double this week, races 9 and 10, although I will argue that last week, the second leg of the mini bet or whatever we had last week, I never would have picked that on leave if I knew there was going to be 5 scratches and that horse would end up being 4 to 5.
Yeah, well, that's true. That's true. See, I was going to make it the 10th and 11th, which is a legitimate late double, but then I looked at the 11th, and anyone who stays till 7:06 to watch that race doesn't deserve to be touted, particularly by the likes of you.
Well, that's true enough, but you have to remember, we've got the Arlington Million on Saturday. We're on Central Time. They're running a gigantic card, racing at Del Mar. We've got a graded stakes race for 2-year-olds later on in the day, so it's going to be racing all afternoon into the night on the East Coast at Saratoga. We begin with race number 9, the first of our daily double races this Saturday afternoon at Saratoga, and I like one in here. I'm singling in the double, Harvey. The number 9, Cerro, reclaimed by Bruce Levine off a win at Churchill Downs. This horse has gotten good. He's won 3 out of his last 5. He's closing in on $500,000 in earnings, and best of all, he's not going to be the favorite. The favorite's going to be Gift Box, who we haven't seen since November, and I think that Chad Brown is using this race as a prep for something longer. You can have Gift Box. You can have the 8 Still KRZ, the second choice, I believe, on the line, who had the phoniest 108 buyer of all time 3 starts back. Strip that from his PPs, and he's no better than Cerro. Cerro, 6-1 on the morning line, John Velasquez.
I'm taking a quick look at Gift Box. Chad Brown, running a horse listed at 9 to 5, who in his last race was in the Discovery, a Grade 3, was in the Travers last year, a Grade 1, and now he's, I agree with you, he's prepping him for a race. But the problem with Chad Brown is, even when he's prepping, he could win. But I agree with you. Good horse, take a shot against.
Okay.
And I'm glad to see you went with Bruce. Bruce did claim that horse, claimed it for 50, running it for more, claimed it in June, hasn't raced it since. And why is he, I thought only Todd trains for the Repole stable.
No, Rapoli has a few horses with Bruce Levine. He might have one other trainer, but he's been with Bruce for a while. They had Cerro at some point, I think, last year. They claimed him either from David Jacobson or Rudy Rodriguez. They didn't have much success with him. They lost him via the claim box, and this horse has just gotten good. I think they figured out what he wants to do. He started his career with Team Valor. He was a turf router. They had him on the Derby Trail for a while. It never worked out. He was running on synth on turf. He's a dirt sprinter. And this is a really good outside post position. And again, gift box is way the horse to beat. Everyone can see the horses he's been running against in the company lines, but I think he's a two-turn horse. I think Chad's just getting a race. They'd love to see him run at the end, gallop out nice, come back sound, and show up in a two-turn race next time.
Well, that's pretty clever of you, considering the fact that we're 0 for 6 years.
Well,
I bring that up not because you're not a good handicapper. I have worked down doing this show with Mike Beer, excellent handicap, Matt Bernier, so good NBC put him on, and you, the leader in the racing form. 3 great handicappers, 0 for 6 years.
We got to, though, conform to the shtick. And that's what we're doing here. If we picked winners, it wouldn't be as much fun, Harvey.
That's right. I would have to quit, and many people would like to see that. But, no, that's a good pick. I happened to have bet a Bruce Levine horse earlier this week and managed to get out. So I'm very much for him at the time. And he's the only one who ever gave me a tip when I was at the track that won. And that's over how many years? More liars came up to me, but Bruce actually gave me a horse that won.
The greatest story about that, by the way, was there was a pick 6 carryover or something like that. Didn't Jimmy Clemenza, did he either have the pick 6 or did he confront someone that claimed he had the pick 6?
No, well, that's the reversal.
Right.
Jimmy had the pick 6.
Right.
Norman came down the escalator at Aqueduct, and there were about 12,000 people at the track that day, and he goes up to Jimmy Clemenza and he says, "I'm the one. I got that pick 6," which was really remarkable. 12,000 people. He picked on Jimmy Clemenza, who took the ticket out of his pocket, held it up to Norman, and said, "What is this, a counterfeit?" But those things do happen. In the old days, they happened. Today, more people are betting at home, less characters at the track, more people are just like horse racing. What are they doing there?
That's a good point. We'd like them to bet more, that's for sure. The second leg of the daily. Yeah, go ahead.
Oh, yes. They're doing well. They're betting a lot at Saratoga. They're showing up, and they're having a great meeting, thanks to 2 things. Pretty good cards and the weather.
Yeah,
weather is number 1, always has been, always will be. And now we're up to it. The 4-star Dave. It seems to me that the more money that Naira puts up for these stakes, the less horses run. Today they got a small field, one of whom is only in main track only, and it's only 7 going in.
For the grade 1 4-star Dave handicap. I singled Cerro in the first leg. I'm going to go 2 deep in the 4-star Dave, down towards the inside, the 2 and the 1. The number 1, Bala Rocks, is 10-1 on the morning line. Bill Mott put blinkers on this horse several starts back, and this horse really improved. And in his most recent race, the Poker, he showed much improved tactical speed. This was a horse that was a closer in his first few races, but he showed the willingness to stay close, and it wasn't because that pace was slow. That was an honest pace that he was on, and he still finished it off. I think he's getting better, and I think he's going to work out a nice ground-saving pace-tracking trip from the inside. And I'm also going to use the 2, American Patriot, for Todd Pletcher. They tried to send this horse overseas, and he was just completely out of his element from a class standpoint, the way the race was run, etc. His race 2 starts back in the Grade 1 Makers 46 was a solid effort. He still has a lot to learn. He needs a little bit of pace, but I think Todd misjudged this horse earlier in his career. They wanted him to go long, 1 1/8, 1.25 miles. His kick's better served by these sort of shorter middle distance route races. So I think both of these horses might offer a little bit of value, at least on the morning line. I think the 1 is 10-1, the 2 is 6-1. So we'll try to connect Cerro in the 9th with either Bala Rocks or American Patriot in the 4-star Dave.
Well, that's a pretty gutsy thing. For one thing, I'm looking at, it's a field of 6. And Chad, of course, has 1. That's 6-5. The same 3 people are in every race. In fact, actually 4. Billy Mott, right. So you have one of them. Chad Brown, and of course, let's not forget Christophe Clement if it's a turf race, and Todd Pletcher. So you have 2 of the people who are always there.
Which basically means Clement, Mott, Exactabox.
Well, it probably does. And I think that will be, who knows, that could be the chalk. It's the Chad Brown thing is getting to me. Chad runs who any horse he runs is bet, and the trouble with that is they're usually right.
Yeah, they're usually right. The problem is the ROI at the end of the day. You're breaking even. If you're lucky, you better win an inordinate percentage with Chad's horse. I mean, this horse, Time Test, came over with a tremendous reputation. People were talking him up like he was the next Flincher, like he was a true superstar of the turf. He hasn't been very good in his first 2 races in North America. And I wonder if Chad just realized, I've been running him too far. I'm cutting him back to a mile. And listen, now's the time. The pressure's on for this horse. Actually, the pressure's on for Chad a little bit because a lot of people have been talking big things about this horse ever since he came here. So it's put up or shut up time for Time Test. And at a short price, I just can't pick him.
We didn't run badly in the Manhattan. He was closing. But as you say, that was longer than this. This is a mile. Who knows? It seems to me that whatever Chad does turns out to be right. He'll take a horse coming out of a 1.5-mile race, put him in this. He'll go to the front and wire the field. It's the kind of thing that confuses us. However, 6 years, good luck to you. Good luck to anybody following us who still has the price to buy a racing form or even to buy it on their computer because nobody has a dime.
And we'll see you next week for Pack at the Track.